What does pledging allegiance really mean?
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
It's more than just words. It's taking responsibility. It's getting involved in our democracy.
This is what democracy looks like.
I'm Allison Hausman, and this is The Pledge. It's a podcast profiling people who have pledged to engage in our democracy. Change is certainly never going to happen if we don't believe it's possible. And so we have to go down and be part of this movement because it is there. There are people there and they are fighting. And I don't want them to feel alone. Listen to The Pledge, be inspired, and get involved.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When I first started working on this podcast, there was a lot about activism that was new to me. And my enthusiasm for playing with audio was sometimes a bit out of control.
Okay. It's 5 a.m, and I can't sleep because I'm just so, oh, that's the cat. It's just so amazing to be doing this project, to be seeing it come together. Here's the cat.
It was really cool to have a good microphone and to know how to use it. But things got a little more stressful once I started producing the podcast and started organizing before the midterms. Maybe this is all a big mistake. What happens if I've been covering Alabama and this turn of events that happened because of the Doug Jones victory? And what happens if it wasn't a turn? What happens if it really was just a blip? You know, I'm thinking more and more, maybe it was just a blip. In other words, Alabama is as red as it gets, and it's going to stay red because the powers are just too firmly entrenched. We all know now that what I feared, the worst case scenario, is exactly what happened. People like to hear about winning. People like to hear about energy leading to victory. And then my stories are about energy being expended and squelched. Ugh. Does that make a good podcast? Does it matter? It's not about the podcast. What does that say about our country? Welcome to the first episode of the mini bonus season of The Pledge. For this episode, I'm getting real about my journey into activism, and I'm going to share the audio diary I kept while making The Pledge. It all started with Donald Trump. I talked about this in the first episode of The Pledge, that, like many people, after Trump was elected, I felt I had to do more. So when Doug Jones won the special election for U.S. Senate in Alabama, I thought, why not create a podcast that celebrates what's happening there? And what better way to inspire activism than unpacking that story? But it turned out making this podcast wasn't enough. The midterms were coming. I wanted to start organizing. And then I discovered Swing Left, a progressive political organization focused on swing districts. I applied for an official role and got it.
I am now officially the Southeast Regional Organizing Coordinator for Swing Left. How wild is that?
It's wild. Swing Left thinks I'm up for the task. And I am. But organizing in 3 southern states from Massachusetts is not easy. What's so hard about choosing to be politically active is just, you have to make something out of nothing. You just have to do it. And it's a very strange place to be in when you have to just do it. You just have to do it. So I have nothing. I mean, I'm not sure where to begin. I'm supposed to be responsible for Swing Left's districts in Georgia, North Carolina, and Alabama. And what exactly is my role? It's very hard to define. I try to think in baby steps. I could organize an event, a phone bank, a fundraiser. I can right now look at my calendar, make a date, and invite people. But I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it yet. I will do it. I did send an email to my friend to talk about doing it with her. I think there is no question that activism is easier with a buddy. A buddy like Cindy. My friend Cindy is excited to help me, and she has lots of experience making something out of nothing. She founded my synagogue, which now has hundreds of members.
But I remember when you said you were going to go to the Swing Left training, and I hadn't heard about it, and I said, oh, I'll go to that. And I thought, finally, something to do.
Cindy is also into buddy system activism.
I'm not somebody who is satisfied being kind of a sole operator, just taking action just on my own in my little house. So the idea of joining with a group of people felt very, very exciting.
Brainstorming next steps with Cindy really helped. But still, I have questions about my role. I keep thinking about termites. I keep thinking about and ants and how these insect communities have this miraculous ability to all individually create an incredible functioning either structure or society. They all know what to do. And right now, it doesn't feel like that's happening. I think that it feels like Swing Left is really trying to create that mechanism that keeps us all moving in the same direction, building the same thing from each of our own places. But I'm not confident yet that it's really there. That's why I'm eager to meet with my Swing Left supervisor, Marisa, in person when she comes into town. Because I'm still freaking out. I am finding this organizing work to be, ironically, just really disorganized. I mean, in the sense that it is really, really hard to take the chaotic energy of lots of people and make sure that that energy is used well. And I'm really, really hoping that this meeting today is going to help me feel like there is a grand plan. I meet Marisa at a Starbucks and learn that, yes, Swing Left does have a plan for me. Back in the car, I rejoice. Now I have a better sense of what I need to do. I know what my role is in terms of helping to direct all of these different people who are interested in volunteering and how to sort of watch what's happening in the Swing Left area and in my area, in my regions in particular, or my turfs. So I have a better sense of what I'm supposed to do. There is so much to do, and I feel like I do feel a little scattered. But I get to work. The first step is sending out emails. Easy, right? No. Organizing is really hard. I'm feeling like I am working really hard and not getting a lot of results. Numbers are so low. I mean, I email 400 people, and I'm really excited that I have 2 people from 400 people. I mean, it just feels like so hard. It takes a huge amount of confidence because you just have to keep trying and not feel bad that no one's paying attention to you. And when you have like just one person pay attention to you, then you have to feel really good. Because of the pledge, I know people in Alabama, so I focus my efforts there. I decide to start with a phone bank for Tabitha Isner, the candidate running for Congress from Alabama District 02. First step, learn how to organize a phone bank. For that, I head to Swing Left Academy.
Welcome to Swing Left Academy. Today, Phone Banking 101. Phone banking is
banking by phone.
Not banking by phone. It's where you volunteer to make calls on behalf of a candidate or a cause.
Yes. Ugh, I hate when people do that.
A lot of people do. You'll place about
I want
30
to
calls
practice
in an
before
hour
I
and
lead a
talk
whole
to
group.
10 people.
Tabitha Isner's staff sets me up with a computer program, and the names of potential voters appear on my screen, one by one, next to their age, polling location, and phone number. Okay, I am about to call my first person, and we'll see how it goes. Here we go. It's ringing. So I just called that number, and the number is not in service. So there goes call number 1. On my screen, there's a place for me to fill out what's happened on the call. So I have to fill this out. Not home, refused, moved, call back, busy, Left message or disconnected is the answer. Save and next call. You made your first call, it says. Are you ready for the next one? Keep up the good work. Oh, I love that. There's a little trophy and everything. Okay. Turns out no answers and disconnected numbers are a big part of phone banking. But now that I've made my first call, I'm ready to organize a phone bank. Cindy and I reach out to everyone we know.
It was amazing to have 15 people show up and all of us be spread all over the house making phone calls at the same time. And so even if it was a night when I only spoke to 2 people directly and made 30 calls, somebody else would have an amazing story about somebody that they had a great conversation with. And the power in the numbers was what was, I think, very uplifting.
At first, none of us phone bankers have personally met Tabitha Isner. We just learn about her online and follow Swing Left's lead. But at the next phone bank, we arranged to have Tabitha join us virtually. We are all really excited.
Even just having that 20 or 30-minute Skype call with her, we were all riveted, sitting around the little computer screen.
Tabitha tells us why she's running. She hadn't planned to.
I did some work to try and find people and ask them to run, and time and again I was being told by people, no, I'm not running for that seat, it can't be won. Which hardly seemed like the point to me. The point was we have to challenge people who are currently in office, because if no one is challenging their hold on that seat, then they have no reason to worry about whether they're doing a good job.
Now that we've met Tabitha, we're really glad we're campaigning for her. She's an ordained minister who kind of exudes grace. I really appreciate the connection she makes between Christianity and progressive values.
When I mention being Christian, people feel instantaneous anxiety on the left. Instantaneous anxiety that I'm going to be judgmental, that I'm going to be rude and dismissive and hateful towards minorities, towards LGBT folks, towards people who choose to live lives in different ways or are unable to be 100% self-sufficient in raising their families, that as if that's what Christianity means. This is my life's work, to push back against that and say there's a different Jesus that I know. And he's worth introducing other people to. And it's political.
So while Tabitha works on introducing her Jesus to politics in Alabama, Cindy and I and our cohort of phone bankers have got her back in Massachusetts. It feels like holy work to us, too. Cindy and I organize 5 phone banks for Tabitha as a group. We make more than 3,000 calls for her. Then, a couple of weeks before the midterms, I get a call from Swing Left. They want to share their latest predictions on Tabitha's race. It's not good. I tell my husband, Ezra. She has a 1 in 60 chance of winning. And I'm just talking to Ezra about that right now and feeling a little bummed.
Well, it's not super encouraging.
It's not very encouraging. And then we've decided that, I've been saying all along that making calls to Alabama and talking to these people in Alabama is part of the change, even if she doesn't win, that this isn't time wasted. But it's just, I'm just realizing 1 in 60. And then I hear that some of my neighbors are talking. They're questioning my judgment. Why am I marshaling precious New England energy away from candidates who have a chance of winning? Ugh, it makes my stomach hurt. But I don't want to give up. And we know something they don't. Here's Cindy.
There was going to be this article in the New York Times, and that was going to give her some great visibility, and I think that made us very hopeful.
When that article came out, the entire country would finally know how fabulous she is, and they'd give her campaign the boost to win.
And then I remember reading that article and the way it ended, essentially saying she didn't have a chance. With all the things that she had accomplished, she didn't have a chance. And that a little bit took the wind out of our sails, I think.
The article was titled "Struggling to Bring the Blue Wave to Deep Red Alabama." The subhead, Tabitha Isner is trying to make a nearly impossible sales pitch to voters and to the donor class. It praises the candidate I had grown to love, but it also goes on to explain all the reasons she can't win. Like how her opponent, without even trying, raised $2 million more than her. I am demoralized. What if we've been putting all this effort into a candidate that's going to lose when the stakes are so high across the country? Was that the wrong thing to do? In other words, I'm wondering if the people questioning my efforts were right. But a bunch of us phone bankers are planning to canvass for Tabitha on the weekend before the election. So I stay positive. We're going down to Alabama as part of a bigger vision. If Tabitha doesn't win, we still are down there being part of an effort that believes that change is possible in Alabama. And change is certainly never going to happen if we don't believe it's possible. And if people aren't there to support them, it will never happen. And so we have to go down and be part of this movement because it is there. There are people there and they are fighting. And I don't want them to feel alone. And if they lose this time, they will have made some progress anyway. Because for the first time, she is there. She is running. She's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we are going to help her. That means it's going to be better. It's going to get better, even if she doesn't win this time. Five of us fly to Alabama the weekend before the midterms. We knock on hundreds of doors. It was a profound experience. Here's my friend Melanie.
I was so moved by it, and I was so glad that I did it, and part of that was because I was so embarrassed about not doing anything. So I was just glad to be doing something. But then I also really felt like we were showing up and we were knocking on people's doors whose doors had never been knocked on, and we were enabling voices to be heard.
Our friend Stacy agrees.
I never thought it was a waste of time going there because of those few instances where people were so excited that somebody actually knocked on their door and they said, "Oh my God, you finally got here. I've been waiting all my life for somebody to knock on my door, and here you are." For that reason alone, I thought it was worth it. And then the totally selfish part of it, you're stepping out of your comfort zone, when you're 58 years old, is just like, it's an empowering thing to do.
It is. I made connections with people I'll never forget. The pregnant mom who shows me her belly with pride. The 15-year-old football player who talks with us because his mom isn't home. A housebound woman who promises us her husband will take her to vote when he gets home. On Election Day, we get up early, put on our Tabitha Isner t-shirts, and head to the Krispy Kreme in Montgomery to get donuts for the campaign office. We run into supporters there, and they tell us there are long lines at the polls. That seems good. We canvass all day and even drive one voter to the polls. But you know what happens. Here's the report from the NBC affiliate WVTM 13.
If you were looking for excitement in these races, they weren't that, because all the incumbents and all the Republican incumbents won, and those were declared pretty early on. I'm joined now by...
I am crushed. We're at Tabitha's party. All of her supporters gather around once the loss is official. Then she gives her concession speech.
We, all of us, we are doing the Lord's work. Now, I know you may not share my religious convictions, and that is all right. But even if you aren't religious, I want you to see that the work we are doing is deeply spiritual. We are not merely fighting for economic prosperity. We are not merely fighting for health care and the physical well-being of our fellow citizens. We are fighting for the soul of this nation.
Losing is complicated. It's certainly more fun to win. After this, I think hard about what my organizing is all about, what change really means. Then, a few months later, I speak with Tabitha.
This is something that needs to be done for the greater good. I know no one wants to be seen as a loser. But when something needs to be done, stand up and do it. And I was willing. I'm not afraid of being a loser. Losing is not that bad.
Not when you're playing the long game. And I'm grateful that Tabitha is doing just that. Our country needs her. So if you didn't already know, now you know. Organizing isn't easy, but it's gratifying. It helps to have buddies, to take one step at a time, and it's not always about winning. My friend Melanie sums it up really well.
Just do it. This stuff is not a big deal. All you need to do is show up. There are people doing really big things, but then there are people doing little things.
And you can be one of those people. You've been listening to a special bonus episode of The Pledge. Thank you to Tabitha, Cindy, Melanie, and Stacy for taking time to talk with me. Your partnership and support through the whole organizing and podcasting process has kept me moving forward. We've got 2 more episodes in this mini bonus season. Next on The Pledge, we'll be posting a guest interview from the podcast Democracy Works out of the McCourtney Institute for Democracy at Penn State. It's with civil rights activist and legend Joyce Ladner.
Freedom is not free. If you look at the way the Voting Rights Act has been attacked for so many years now and chipped away at, each generation has to fight for those same rights all over again.
Please be sure to subscribe to The Pledge wherever you listen to podcasts and share this with all your friends. There's so much more to do and some amazing stories of people doing it. If you have a story about political engagement or a friend who inspires you, we want to hear it. You can record a voice memo on your phone and email it to thepledgepodcast@gmail.com. You can also go to our website at thepledgepodcast.com or to our Facebook page and share your story. We are just starting to uncover the extraordinary ways Americans pledge to our country. We need your help. Until next time, stay strong and stick with your pledge.